Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Tom Ryan, and we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and the changing world, and some of the ways that we can be using AI and for our own benefit. And for those that are watching, you'll notice that Tom and I are both wearing green shirts today. We seem to have sent a memo out saying we had to wear green. For those that are listening in, you won't know that, which is why I'm telling you. Tom, where can people find you?
You can find us at biglySales.com,
Tom, great to have you on. Talk to us about AI. Talk to us about how you and your experiences with AI. Give us some background.
So we made the decision a couple of years ago in the business that we were going to do AI in everything that we do.
Okay.
As an organization, I know some companies think of it kind of as cheating, right? If you're using AI to code, you're cheating. This is like using a spreadsheet to, do calculations, right? I have a row of numbers and I have 1,000 numbers in it, and I can do it by hand, or I can use a spreadsheet and say calculate. To me, that's what AI is. It allows you to do things many times faster than you can do it by hand, many times faster than any individual can do it. And you can set up a process where AI shines is any manual, repetitive process. Right.
Give us an example, Tom.
I mean, literally anything in your organization that you're doing as an individual or that you have the organization doing. So the problem I'm solving is call centers.
Okay.
You have people calling in. You have to ask them the same 5 questions every time. And then you have to schedule them for an appointment, or you have to send them something. You have to send them a contract. You have to send them a payment link. You have to send them a review, right? There's no reason that process can't be automated. So we're building out that automation, which can work 24/7, 365 in multiple languages. It can do, 100 requests a day. It can do 100 million requests a day. And all you have to do is scale up the servers. So, that is the thing that I'm doing. Where else can it be used? I mean, literally anything in your organization. So some examples, if you're doing any sort of SEO, if you're writing any sort of blogs, you have the AI go, you give it the keywords that need to be inserted in that article. You have it write those articles. You can then do it at scale, and you still want a human looking at it, right? But now, instead of having to write that article from scratch, which maybe takes someone all day, they can go through 20 articles in a day.
I've just been reading an article about writer's block,
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to find something in the article about AI. There wasn't anything at all, because AI is actually a fantastic helping you with writer's block, because it gets over the blank page conundrum. What do I write? And you can start getting AI to write for you, can't you?
Yeah, and so a lot of people are using it for emails, right? That's kind of the first thing that people thought, where you go and you need to write someone an email. Maybe it takes you a half hour, an hour. If you're doing a sales email to someone and, you want it to be very specific and you want to answer, their questions that they had, you want to take some time with this. So instead of having to do it from scratch every time, you can have the AI put that together for you. It takes it literally a few seconds, and then you proofread it and you edit it and you make it yours. So I know a ton of people are using it for email today, which is funny. I went to this AI conference and they asked all these AI experts what they're using it for themselves, and they all said email, right? Which I thought was, hilarious. So yeah, we're obviously using it for writing. If you're gathering data, it can go and it can gather huge amounts of data. So if you have people pulling data from something, it can take huge amounts of data. Say you wanted to pull in I have this list here and it's kind of fuzzy data, and I want to grab all the names, and I want to grab all the phone numbers, and I want to grab all the titles. You can tell it that. And, I think Phantom Buster is the one that we're using, but there's probably 10 others that do the exact same thing. And it will go and grab all that data for you, even though it's unstructured, and put it into a spreadsheet. Right. So that's something that might have taken you. I remember I did something like this, back in, it's had to be almost 20 years ago now. And it took me months. I mean, literally took me months to, I would spend a few hours a day grabbing this data, putting it together. And it was so time consuming. And now today you could do that same thing, and it might take the AI a half hour or 10 minutes. And you just kind of let it work, and you come back and it's done.
Yeah.
That would be another example. Anyone who's creating images, little videos, the AI, we're going to give this podcast to the AI when we're done, right? We have a tool. I'd have to ask my team which one we're using today.
We use Cast Magic.
Okay, you use Cast Magic, right? So the same thing. We're going to take this, we're going to break it down into 20 clips, 50 clips, whatever, and then be able to use that on all of our social media. And this is going to be our social media posts for the next month.
Yep.
Right. With everyone going back, and seeing Tim. So that's another great use case for it. If you're doing graphic design, I was showing this to someone yesterday. They had this graphic design team, and they were putting labels on champagne bottles, that they will do a customized champagne bottle for you, for your business, for your wedding, for whatever. And I said, yeah, you can make that label in a couple of seconds using AI. And we just went into GPT-4o, and I said, I want a champagne label. And a couple seconds later, boom, champagne label's there. And the guy was dumbfounded. Said, we wouldn't need our graphic design team anymore, right? And, so it can do things like that. Any sort of graphics that you need. We went and we were making new flyers for something. And again, it's not that you're going to get rid of your whole graphics team, but all the images can be created by AI in a few seconds. And then they can, put the words on top, because it's still not good with letters for whatever reason. The way that it tries to guess what's next and what it looks like. So, how it was giving people extra thumbs and fingers and stuff for a while. It still does that with the letters, where, the eye will kind of look like an eye, but if you look closely, there's actually two eyes there that are kind of connected at the bottom. It's like a U with two dots on it. It'll still screw that up a little bit, but I'm pretty sure within the next year that will be a thing of the past as well. So anything with graphic design, and then any manual repetitive processes. So someone sends in an order, right, via email, and that order needs to be put into the computer system, and then an invoice needs to be generated and sent out. You can create that whole workflow in AI, and you can say, okay, we're going to take the order, and 24/7, 365 will automatically go and put that into our Salesforce system, or put that into HubSpot, and we will automatically generate an invoice, and we'll automatically send that invoice back out to the person. And, we're going to send a payment link to them as well. And that whole workflow can be built out, and can probably be built out in a couple of weeks. And if you have 10, 20, 50 people doing this sort of work, you can give them something more meaningful to do, and you just have one person oversee it now.
So you said something to me when we had our preparation call, which I've written down in my notebook. It was back in April, so I don't know whether you remember this, but you said you saved, or somebody saved, $3 million in outside lawyers' fees.
Yeah. So I have a friend, and he's corporate counsel at a Fortune 500, and he went to a meeting with a bunch of corporate counsels, and they've basically all done this over the last year. They said, we used to go to outside counsel. We would say, we need to do some research on something. We have a small team in house. We have 2 or 3 lawyers, and we would go and ask things from outside counsel. So now we just give it to the AI, that we take, the specialized AI that LexisNexis has put together with all the legal cases in it. And, they've set the temperature to 0, meaning don't hallucinate at all. Don't make things up.
Yeah.
And they'll go and they'll take a look at it, and they'll plug it in there, and it'll spit out an answer. And it'll give them the answer, with the case law and everything, in, again, a couple of seconds. Hey, are we still recording, Tim?
We are, yes. Your light blinked or something, but we're
yeah,
still...
something blinked there.
Hmm.
So anyway, so these guys said, we spent $3 million last year. This year, zero.
Wow.
Right. And that's across the board for these corporate counsels that, these big companies that have, a handful of lawyers in house, when they need something done, they're giving it to the AI instead of giving it to, instead of giving it to outside counsel and saving them millions of dollars. The same sort of thing's going to be happening with medicine, right? That, radiology is fraught with errors. So I used to sit on the board of a locum tenens company, which did contract doctors. And one of the places we would see lawsuits all the time was radiology, that doctors should have caught something, they missed something, there was something that was there on the image and they missed it, and it was stage 1 cancer, and now they caught it at stage 3 or 4, and the guy ended up spending $1 million on legal fees or on medical fees, and they'd get sued for a few $1 million. So the AI can do a better job and do it more consistently than the doctors can do today. So you give it to the AI and to the doctor to have a second opinion, and it takes a couple of seconds, and maybe the AI picks up something that the doctor misses. And, again, saving millions per case in medical malpractice fees and lawyer fees and, things of that sort. So, I mean, there's so many applications for business right now. It's really, we said, how can we use it? And from a technical standpoint, we use it to check all of our code now.
Yep.
Our coders are using it. So for any simple task, right, if it's very complex, maybe it's not a perfect fit yet. But hey, I want to make a green button, right? I want to make this button that says, our names on it, and I want it to be blue, and I want it to be round, oval shaped, right? You give it the instructions and it will spit out the code for you. And if that isn't your forte, if you're a great back-end developer, but, front end isn't your strongest suit, it can give you that button in a couple of seconds. And if you're trying to program that from scratch, maybe it takes you an hour or two.
Yeah.
So there's so many use cases like that for programming. Anyone at home, anyone who has a business, next time, instead of calling technical support, I want you to go into Claude or ChatGPT and put in your issue that you're having on the computer and have it have it help you. And then if you get an error code, give it the error code and say, I got this error when I tried to do it, and have it explain what that error means and what it means you should do instead. And you will, I can tell you now, I don't call technical support anymore. I call ChatGPT. And it has the answer pretty much every time, faster, easier, with way less headaches than trying to call someone else to figure it out.
Yeah, I have a significant birthday next year, and I decided I wanted to go to Easter Island. So I didn't go to any of the holiday companies. I went to ChatGPT and said, I want to go to Easter Island. Write me out a itinerary for the holiday. And we went backwards and forwards a couple of times because it suggested a horse ride. For example, my partner's allergic to horses, so you change the prompt to go backwards and forwards, and ultimately we got an itinerary, and then went to the company. So I didn't go to Google, which is my point. Yeah. I didn't go to Google and then a website. I basically did everything that I needed, all of the research I needed for the purchase in ChatGPT, and then went to a company and said, do this.
That's my starting point now. I always start with ChatGPT before I go to Google or something else, because if I'm asking a question, it typically just gives me the answer to the question.
Yes,
and it's as accurate as Google, I would say. So Where it still has some issues is on time. It's not really good with the concept of time or change over time, right? So, anything with dates, it can have a little bit of problem with. You have to be careful how you're feeding that data. But, besides that, and that's an issue today. Is
Yeah.
that going to be an issue in 6 months? Probably not. Is that an issue with the latest version of Llama that just came out? Maybe not, right? As this keeps advancing, it's changing so fast and it's getting better so fast that any of these limitations that I'm talking about that may exist right now, by the time someone listens to this episode, they probably won't be there anymore.
You said something to me on the prep call, which is AI will double in power every 6 weeks. So in 60 weeks, we have 1,000 times more power available to us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. So that's exactly right. That's about how it's doubling right now, which is astounding to me. Moore's law was computers double every 18 to 24 months in power. Every time they come out with a new chip, the chips aren't twice as powerful. The new AI chips coming out are 30 times more powerful. Now, are we going to keep at that pace forever? Probably not, but that's the pace of change right now. These new models that are coming out, we literally went from models with a context window of 4,000 tokens, which is approximately 4,000 words. That was a year and a half ago.
That's in effect the size of their memory. If you think
that's the memory. That's exactly right.
Their brain size in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, how much you can remember in its working memory. So if you have a 4,000 token AI context window, as soon as you get to 4001, anything before that has dropped off. So It's kind of like talking to an Alzheimer's patient, right? That they remember it for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but once you get past about 4,000 words, however, many pages that is, 5 pages, whatever, it's gone. Well, the new context windows coming out are a million plus. So you say, how much has that improved? It's 250 times in 2 years. It's astounding. It's astounding how much that has increased. And again, the chips, the processing speed, everyone's announcing chips right now that are 30 times faster than the previous generation. Meta has just come out with one. NVIDIA's coming out with one. I'm sure there's a few others that I can't think of right now that have announced that they're all 20, 30, 40 times more powerful than the top of the previous generation. So, any of these constraints that people have today are going to disappear as these new chips come out and as these new models come out. They're also able to do more and more with, smaller training sets. So, the new version of GPT, when they come out with it, it's going to have cost them more than $1 billion to have trained it. It's going to be into the billions. So someone says, hey, do you want to train a new model from scratch? Well, you're probably going to have trouble competing with GPT unless you have a couple of $1 billion lying around.
Unless you're training it on maybe the data within your own company. You want it, a walled garden around your own company.
Yeah, it's really fine tuning is what that's called. And actually GPT-4o Mini that just came out has free fine tuning that you can put in your fine tuning data. You can take your own data and put it in there and train it on your data without having to train a whole model from scratch. So unless you have a huge amount of money and technical resources, it doesn't really make any sense training your own models from scratch. Leave that to Google and to Meta and to OpenAI and Anthropic and those guys. And you're over in Europe, so I'll throw Mistral in there as well.
Thank you.
They're French though, so that might not fly.
We love the French.
Okay, well then you're
good. We always have done, Tom. We've never fallen out with French.
I mean, as long as everyone's getting along. So anyway, leave that to the big boys, right? And what you can do is fine tune and take some of your data and feed that in and train it on that data. And that is a much faster, easier process to do. Just to take smaller amounts of data and put it in. Now, I can give you some horror stories on that too. Bloomberg did this, that they didn't realize the pace that this was improving. And they spent millions of dollars fine-tuning GPT 3.5. And they spent months and millions of dollars doing this. And they came out and they said, it's great, it's perfect. And then 4.0 came out and it was better than their fine-tuned model. So the $5 or $10 million they spent was all wasted, and that time was all wasted because these things are advancing so fast. So, if it doesn't do what you need it to do, wait 6 months.
Tom Ryan, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about artificial intelligence. Some of your case studies are fascinating. It really are. Tell people where they can get hold of you.
Yeah, again, biglysales.com. And I didn't even get into some of these things, but for labeling, for pricing, for anything where there's large amounts of data that it really isn't feasible to go through by hand and change, that you would love to do, that you can't do it. You can do that right now using the AI technology that's available today. And it won't take you very long to set up, and it won't be very expensive to do.
And your call to action is for everybody to try out AI.
100%. If you haven't used this yet, this is like trying out Google.
Yeah.
So if you can use Google, you can use ChatGPT.
You can use ChatGPT.
You can use Claude. And just ask it to do something and see if it can do it for you. Ask it something crazy. If you want to set up anything you want to do, anything you want to set up, go and ask it and see what it recommends, and then have a conversation with it. And I think you'll be blown away.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation to everyone right now. And if you have a few hundred or a few thousand people in a call center and you're using BPOs and you want to save a lot of money and have it do a better job and increase your KPIs,